it's not encouraged. And you start that on this upper secondary level schooling after you finish your basic education at 16. So 17, 18, 19 is usually the average of time. And what you're required to do is you're required to do a minimum of 75 courses. And the courses are, some of them are compulsory and others are voluntary. So it's not split into our kind of grade approach to the grade 10, 11, 12 part of the education system. It's course-based. So similar to, if I understand it correctly, the American style. So vocational school then is also 3 to 4 years and is made up mostly of job-based training. So you go and you get on-the-job experience. So one of the things I thought was, how can these students speak so many languages? So I really went over to Finland expecting to have a language barrier. So expecting that in every interaction we were going to have a language barrier. And it was completely not the case. In fact, I think most of the Finns could speak better English than most of us that were going over there. And that was often one of either their third or their fourth language. Because in Finland, there are 2 languages that are national languages, Swedish and Finnish. And every Finn is required to know how to speak Finnish, right? But lots of the Finns are actually educated in Swedish. So it's quite interesting. They can float between those 2 languages, but their English is just absolutely outstanding. The word for hello, the kind of general word for hello is hey, H-E-I. And so we would go out to like people at coffee counters and be hey, and they'd go into Finnish straight away and we'd have to like reel back. They just switched straight away and it was really easy. So these students that we interacted with were just 19, 18 years old and just speaking English fluently and presenting to first language English speakers in most of the cases. So it was phenomenal. They had a really high level of maturity for their age, and that was one of the biggest things for me that struck me, because we obviously dealt with teenagers at a similar level, and it was completely different. These students that we interacted with, and sure, we didn't get a broader exposure, so it might just have been the students that were chosen. So that does come with that, just that kind of sampling side of it. But they were really mature, and we asked them really hard and sensitive questions, like, what is the rate of teenage pregnancy in your schools? Is that an issue? And they just dealt with it like so well and upfront and maturely, and we asked them about more sensitive issues for some of them, maybe, but it wasn't actually in their culture. So what is the students' take on homosexuality in the schools? And they respond like so openly and reference LGBTQ++. It's just like, what? Most of the people I interact with don't know what the freak that is, and will not use that in common speak. Like, it was great. Yeah, and after all of our questions with these learners, one of the major things was how different these school issues are to ours. And it sounds like obvious, but when you're there and you realize what those teenagers are dealing with and what they would consider a problem, and how like worlds apart they are from us, it's quite eye-opening. So it's not to say that they don't have their problems. I think that one of the major issues that they're having to deal with is depression in their students, but it's just they've got different problems to us, and so there isn't much common ground if were to put two of the same caliber students together at the same age, I think if they were talking about issues, they would be fundamentally different issues. Broadly speaking. Right, so we then moved through that. It was a pretty simple system, to be honest, the secondary and vocational. Easy. 75 courses, do them, choose your own, have fun, focus on what you're going to get to after that, and that's really what it was. Vocational was on-the-job based training, help all the way, that's it. So nothing like revolutionary.
You said there were compulsory ones. What areas are the compulsory?
Often, sorry, so one of them, I think Corsi asked that one, and their response was it was mainly into the kind of science, maths courses to ensure that students would do those subjects. So mathematics, science, etc. And then there was one other some language. And then we moved and did so. We visited one University of Applied Sciences, which is the what they call the polytechnics, and then we visited one university as well, and got presentations there. And so at this point, it's important to note that every single student or learner or person in Finland, whether you are an immigrant, whether you are native to the country, whatever, gets free education from a basic level to a master's level. And with that, you get free healthcare and you get free food. It's pretty insane. And so, just to add a bit to that, Finland is only made up of 5.5 million people. And because of the correction, the reform that they've done, most of those people, or those families, are paying taxes. South Africa only has, I don't know what the numbers are, but I think it's approximately between 7 and 9 million taxpayers for a country of 55 million. So it's very hard to give that kind of social welfare when you've got such a broad base and such a low tax base. And so the Finns say, we get taxed a lot, but we get so much for it, and they're really happy to pay taxes. And then we probe them on it, and we'd say, well, how much tax do you pay? So no, between 30 and 40%. Very close to ours. So, yeah. So there's a dual system at a higher education level between universities and polytechnics. There's no tuition fees for regular degree students and exchange students. The vocational institutions are focused on skills for the workplace and not on research. Very important difference, and they are quite weirdly upfront about that and vocal about that. I don't know why. That's very weird. Universities are research institutions, and in principle, a master's degree from a vocational institution and a research institution or university are exactly equivalent in status. There's no difference. So when you're applying to jobs or whatever, there's absolutely no difference. And when we went to the University of Applied Sciences, one of the University of Applied Sciences, to me, it was one of the institutions I was like, oh, that's the one that I would have wanted to go to. It was phenomenal in what they were doing and how they were doing it. Like, I don't think I've ever seen so many Raspberry Pis and Arduinos and Arduino projects and stuff like that in my life. Like, you just walk down, it's just this and that and this. And of the, like, at this institution, of the 20,000 learners that were there, 7,500 of those learners were focused into technology-based programs. So there's a heavy leaning towards technology. The others were spread between health and teaching and and the rest. And yeah, so it was really good. And something that, looking back on the South African setup, is something we don't do well. Like, we don't do it well. We confuse the two. And when we were visiting it as well, we walked through and saw the support that the companies and the organizations give to these UAVs, University of Applied Sciences. And it's pretty remarkable. Lots of the courses are taken by people who are employed at the company doing the courses for the university. So they're not lecturers, they're not paid educators, they're paid by a company doing this course, and then they'll go back to work and run and do their normal day job. And so we asked them and said, well, what are the, do you get tax breaks for doing that work? Like, what incentivizes these companies to give their time of their valuable employees to go and do these courses in these universities of applied sciences? And they just said, no, it's that they can go and source real talent and get a name with the students that are in these institutions, so that they can come and work for them one day if they are at a level that they want. And so it's really like a nice system, a nice ecosystem, and that works. And one of the problems that they have is that most of the University of Applied Sciences students do their master's thesis while working, and are actually required to do their master's thesis and get some other training. And why that's a problem is they're finding that students don't complete. So they start working, they get employment, and they don't understand the point of completing their master's thesis, and so they don't. And so that's one of the issues. And then one of the other major issues that they're trying to solve is that students are taking too long to get through the system. We don't have that problem. We've got students getting through the system like 22, 21, and they start sitting up at the 29, 30, 31 level. So they've got a problem there where they need their people to get into the workforce and contribute to the economy, but they are taking too long to get through the education system. And they're trying, that's one of their leading issues that they state. Graduation age is much higher than other countries, as I mentioned. So even though the diagram said that it was easy for students to float between the two, the researcher who was giving the presentation to us in one of the universities mentioned that it isn't actually as easy as it seems for students to float between academic institution, research-based institution, and the vocational universities, higher education institutions. And so, yeah, so Mark, the guy who was presenting, said it is quite problematic. They mentioned that forcing students to go into the workplace in any degree program is critical to ensure that the skills that they're learning is relevant to the workplace. And this was something that struck home with me. I was just like, this is what we get wrong. Like, we go to university and we do some of the programs are brilliant and others are mediocre, but more often than not, how in touch are universities with the workplace? And they're just trying to focus on what is the relevance of what you're learning to what you're going to have to contribute towards the economy. That is what comes up in every single one of what came up in every one of the presentations from the experts. And it's just like, we should be thinking the same. Like, we should be thinking, how does this help the workplace? Because is that the end goal? If it's a research institution, sure, like maybe research is the outcome and focusing on that. But if you're going for applied things, workplace skills, then make sure you know what the workplace requires. And we get around it, in my mind, with professional qualifications, like accounting, that kind of thing, where we rely on body to make sure that we're in touch. And this was one of one of my main thoughts. And it touches on a bit that I had throughout it's just stay on advantage. I mean this with all due respect, because I know this is being recorded, but lots of what I saw was not really well designed. Architecture was well designed and human-centric and all the rest, but if you're talking like creativity and that, like, didn't see, we are leagues ahead in our communities with that, which is quite interesting. And yeah, by the end of it, I was just like, I just want to just go to Microsoft and say, just delete PowerPoint, please. I can't look at another like 1980s slideshow, like honestly. Cool. So, what are the education system success characteristics? And the first is the teacher is the core of the system. The teacher is the core of the system. Not the learner, the teacher. That's quite a tough one, I'm sure quite contentious in many education debates. But the teacher is really the core of the system, and they make sure of that. And what I learned from one of the presentations was just that they focus on 7 roles with 7 values. They really have this whole mentality of just simplifying things down and making it practical. And so the first role is of the teacher is as a pedagogical leader. So they control and they lead their pedagogical practices. And the leading value attached to that is one of learning. So they learn, and they must always learn, and they must be lifelong learners, and they are asked to and helped to learn, and then they are also helping the learning of others in the community, and with obviously their students in the schools. They then are also the manager of the organization. So they're not just there to perform a job, they are the manager of their organization as well. So, and the leading value there that they're asked to embody or practice is effectiveness. How effective is what they're doing when they're managing their organization. They then are also the community leader. So they are recognized as a community leader and will often be asked to solve conflict, to get involved, which is interesting. And that's the leading value there, is to get that sense of community around the education system, around the school. They are then an official, so they are a professional official. And the leading value there is obviously legality. They are a boss. They have staff who work under them. They have remedial teachers, helpers, others. So they are a boss as well. The leading value that they try to get across there is fairness. And most importantly, they are themselves. They've got to be themselves. So first educator that we saw at the Smart City principal had purple hair. She must be in between 60 and 70 or purple hair. And that is to maintain that the teachers are happy, because if the teachers are not happy, then how can the students be happy? And if the teachers are not happy, then how can they truly help the students to learn in a way that is a positive learning environment? And then lastly, wholeness, and the leading value there is harmony. So those are 7 roles and 7 values that they try to get ingrained into the educators. And then the secret sauce that was outlined was firstly teacherhood, and that is teaching is a first choice of profession in Helsinki, and they get an academic education. So the teachers go to the university of the research side. They don't go to the polytechnic. Okay, the profession, so as I mentioned, and they have complete pedagogical autonomy. They decide what their students learn and how they learn it. They have a splendid team, so headmasters and teachers have a splendid team around them to help. They then have the headmasterhood, which is a key part to the recipe. Every headmaster has to be a teacher. There's no headmasters like we have here where there might be a business person who's now running a school. they only have educators as headmasters. And the sustainable policy of education, free school meals, basic school systems free, and yeah, support for pupils is very strong. The second characteristic is the teacher training system, quite obviously, and that is fundamental to their success. They carry on training their teachers. It's not like, oh, you finish, you're done. I'll teach for the rest. No, it's every year they're professionals. They have to keep up, have to know what's going on, and they have to learn. And this one was one that we, I think, would really battle with. Politicians follow the teachers when it comes to education, not the other way around. And teacherhood is not a job, it's a life work. And all of the teachers we interacted with that really lay testament to that. They don't consider it a job, it's their life work. And they will be a teacher until it's not teachers exit and go into other work, which is not what happens here. First, teachers have different values. The good life is not about money and success. So they really do have different values. They love what they do and they do what they love. And they are remunerated well for it. They earn very well comparatively to other professions. Not the highest, but they earn very well. I think the average salary of a teacher is 3,500 euros. That's what they mention. And that's noting that it is a democratic social welfare state. So they're getting a lot from the state. So there's a lot of residual income there.
And also they're only working 32
32
weeks, what was it?
Yeah, it's a nice lifestyle. Alright, so the last part of this, there is a lot that I could have shared, and I just wanted to move you through the top things and just share the system with you so it can get you thinking and let you have a feel for what Finland does with the education system. And so now what I'm going to move on to is my 5 top takeaways in a couple of different areas, and then you can fire questions and we can discuss and get into the detail if you want. So the first one is my 5 top takeaways for South Africa. One of the saddest things, the saddest realizations that I had on the trip going through this is we fought so hard to end apartheid, and then we just said cool. Or we tried to, but we didn't fight hard for the education system. The one thing that could fundamentally change the opportunities for people who were oppressed in the past. And to be honest, and I'll come out with my head on the block for this, what do we have to show for it in the last over 20 years? Like, what do we have to show for it? We are failing our children. And we should be fighting as hard to get it right. Like, honestly, I was just looking at this in the way that they informed us. Come on, like, we've got to do this. It's not something that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we need to start and do small, steady changes that are improvements and working towards a much better future. And it was probably one of the most depressing things of the trip, is that realization that we lost 22 years. And the second one is the state can't solve this alone. They can't. They need help. They need help from communities. They need help from private enterprise. They need help from other organizations. They need help. And we need to accept that we, for example, as a private education provider, bonjour.com, we can't solve this problem. We need help with other people. Everyone needs to band together and solve this, because we have to. Otherwise, we've got a worse situation that we actually want to realize. And so, public and private partnership in solving education, in my mind, after this trip, and nothing has told me otherwise, is the way that we can truly make the most rapid impact in the South African education system. private enterprise and private organizations are fast and nimble enough to change and lead from the front. And we need the public institution to follow those changes and to implement a broader and wider policy. Number 3, a positive thing. Our inequality and emerging market is our strength. And so this was one of the things that I didn't really, looking at the education system, I didn't really like, to be honest. And there was a lot of good stuff, but one of the main things for me was, are those learners getting a true global sense of what it means to be a global citizen and what the problems of other global citizens are around the world? And I don't think they are. And so for me, I think that we as developing nations need to really leverage our inequality and our emerging markets and say, how can we take our context and make it better for our citizens and that way inform the rest of the world? Because there's definitely a difference in context and understanding. And over time it will only start to fuse as we become more globalized. Teachers and our training system needs urgent and rapid reform. We did away with teacher training colleges. The worst mistakes we could have ever made. So that part of it needs urgent and rapid reform. And seeing those infrastructures that they have in place for educators over there, it only highlights that fact. And just say, call out to governments and say, go and look at how it's done over there and realize the differences that are occurring. Finland is a unionized teaching state. They have a union. We are a heavily unionized teaching state. Surely we can learn from each other and how it's approached and how it's dealt with. And then the last one is, we must stop trying to paint a big brush and change everything. Small steps. What if we just started off with getting rid of the mud schools? Just that change. What if that was just the first thing that we did? Forget everything else. Just do one thing at a time and take it over. So that was it for South Africa. There were takeaways then for our business, and so I'm going to say those because I've got the team here. The first thing is grooming our high quality content skill set is our competitive advantage. We have the opportunity to capture talented and very high quality educators, and we need to make sure that we do it in such a way that we maintain that high quality content. Second one. And then the third one is truly, and this was something that would attach to more broadly and all of the people on the trip, is our solution is world class. The EdTech solutions that I saw that were coming out of Finland were not, to be honest, and with all due respect, not revolutionary. And quite a lot of the solutions that the South Africans were putting in place were a lot more innovative and a lot further down the line. And this was a point of something that we talked about quite often as a team, as fellow entrepreneurs, because we're like, how can we be doing this when we interact with all of these other educators, these other education entrepreneurs? And out of the 16 that went on a trip to Finland that was taken by Investec and Innovate, 2 had funding. Private funding, not public funding. 2. No one else had funding, not even from the States. Okay? And every single one of the education organizations and entrepreneurs that we interacted with in Finland had 2 sources of funding, public and private. Every single one. And the rest of the South Africans were bootstrapping and finding their feet and going their own way. And that sharpened the entrepreneurs. And I truly believe that, look, one of our key takeaways for us is that our solution is world class, but our mentality is also world class as businesses here. Because we forced through such hard times that we really have to sharpen up and get things right. We were, in my mind, leagues ahead of some of the other entrepreneurs that were there, just because of our situation. We had to be forced to be. Then, fourth thing is actively build partnerships with local like-minded businesses. We can't solve this alone. We need to work with each other. We don't need to always think that we're competing. And then the last one was quite an interesting one because it's something that we've journeyed with, and I've certainly journeyed with for quite some time, is how I feel really bad often about making money off education. And this trip just turned that around. We have to make money off this to make it sustainable and to ensure that we can be the lifeline for our education reform. And so, yeah, so that was an interesting one. And then the last one was for my son, Cameron. And obviously this was part of it, looking at it through the lens of a father, was an interesting lens as well. Because you obviously want the best opportunities for your children, and when you look at education systems, that is one of the things that's going to offer the best opportunities. And so Alan and I, first takeaway, or my takeaway for both of us, was we need to make sure that Cam's education centers around him. It should not be off the factory line. And it's going to be a tough one to solve because we do have a factory line. And then secondly, we have to ensure that he learns how to learn. Forget the importance of acquiring knowledge, it's applying the knowledge that counts. So don't focus on acquisition of knowledge, focus on application of knowledge. And then thirdly, exposure and discipline to breed mastery is something that we have to stimulate and nurture with CAMP always. So get exposed to what's out there, have the discipline to master what you want to master, right? And then we will be there to help and stimulate like those educators in Finland do. 4, follow your passions and master your skills. So there was quite a strong sense from a lot of these education thought leaders that the knowledge economy is moving towards passion-based skill mastery. Like, follow your passions and then get the skills through that and really run with it. And then 5th, just play. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks very much. There was a lot, and I hope I got enough across. So thanks for joining us.
If anyone has any questions for this forum now, feel free to ask James. Otherwise, I'm sure a lot of you need to rush off home. So if you'd like to stick around, have another glass of wine and chat to James one-on-one or a group, that's cool too. It's up to you guys. Does anyone have any questions in this forum now? Feel free to nip off if you want to nip off as well though.
Yeah.
And just a quick question, what is the ratio of educators to students there on average?
The average class size is between 20 and 25. But that's one leading teacher, and then you've obviously got the supporting and assisting teachers, remedial. So it's very inclusive. It's not, there's no remedial schools. It's everyone's in the same class.
Jim, do you think the like teacher core centric model is based around their trust? So they trust that the teacher is giving their child the right education. I mean, because locally, unfortunately, you've got this bad rap of getting a bad education, and obviously the person standing in front of your kids is the teacher. They might not have chalk to write on the board, but that comes from somewhere else, but that's not, the teacher gets blamed for this. Do you think that's the main mindset?
Definitely. I mean, like, how comfortable would, as a kind of crude example, but how comfortable would we be with having a grandfather cruising around a primary school? You know, like, we would, as South Africans, tell me if I'm wrong, we want to make sure that that person is there for our reasons, and we make sure. For them, it's like it's just trust-based, and they obviously the teachers will monitor and all the rest, but definitely like the parents trust the teachers, the community trusts the teachers, the politicians trust the teachers, so it's fundamental.
That's a huge mindset change. So, I have children and I don't have great trust in teachers, but I think that's just it's a general local mindset, which is very sad.
Don't they also all our children don't want to put on the master's degree? So I think unfortunately, a lot of our teachers are people who feel like they weren't good enough doing something else and want to teach.
Yeah.
So they're not in it because they want it. They're in it because they sort of just couldn't really do anything else there. Whereas here, they're so focused on, or in Finland, it seems they're so focused on making sure that the quality of teachers is so good that they kind of help build that trust.
Yeah, I think in different levels and on our kind of South African society, there's different levels of respect for teachers as well. So there's, like I was just thinking about, in certain community teachers are very highly respected in this country, and we need to leverage that.
Yeah.
But in others, it's not the same. So it's yes and no on those areas.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get no media about great teachers, which is very sad.
Yeah.
But also, if you look at the demographic of Africa having 55 million people, South Africa, your teacher to pupil ratio is obviously going to grow immensely. So you're going to be overwhelmed often, and it's quite sad.
Yeah, I mean, like the context of Finland is so different. That's why I hope I got that across. I don't think we can take a plug and play model, take theirs and put it here. It wouldn't work. We'd have to change it in our own way.
So, what I'm interested in is that, was it in the 60s that Finland decided to make a change?
Yes.
So, like, how much of that is possible for us? And also in the context of, in terms of, if we're at a place where we need to make a huge change, so we're at the beginning, what would that look like? Because you see Finland doing really well and this kind of thing, but like, there's the rise of nationalism, there's Brexit, there's Trump, like the first world is kind of imploding. And it's interesting to think, well, that's not like, it's a little bit like doom and gloom, to think that like, we could be on the rise of a very different world, in a place where, like, places with previous disadvantages, or colonialism, or South America, or Asia, are starting to see sort of slow incremental changes that are similar to what's happening in Europe in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And what's interesting to see is that the places that those changes happened has like kind of now starting to really have a troubled populations, also with quite high youth unemployment, high immigration, and I mean Finland is maybe a unique bubble. But I'm just interested, like, is there, in terms of the outlook, do you think that there is a good hope that we could kind of see the sensitive changes? And also, it's, it's interesting to see, like, and also some more comments, like, I was doing a lot of research while you were talking, and like, the founder of, this is just an aside, the founder of Linux, SSH, IRC, all came out of that pre-generation, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it is. So, like,
MySQL.
Yeah, everything. So, Linus is from there. He is, like, if you watch his TED talk, he is, like, now that I went to it, I'm like, oh, he's completely finished.
Yeah, it's like, so, like,
yeah,
a lot of things, like, I wanted to talk to other people, I just wanted to do,
So one of their biggest one of their biggest industries is tech, obviously, and gaming is one of their biggest. They've got some of the biggest gaming companies. Their biggest success story is one of their biggest failures as well, Nokia. But Nokia, interestingly, is their largest stimulator of entrepreneurship and startups in Finland. Because what Nokia did was they said, cool, we're not going to give you retrenchment packages, we're going to give you business funding packages if you want it. So you can have funding for your idea. And so a lot of really high-end, specialized people went out and founded businesses, and lots of businesses came out of that. We met Angry Birds, for example. They did some cool stuff now in gamified learning. They're basically making an Angry Birds of the periodic table. So children can learn different things about like helium and what helium has like characteristics, and it's a personality. But anyway, to answer your question, I definitely think there's hope for sure. I am hopeful that we can over time change, and I think we will. I don't think we can have this level of unemployment and inequality. It can't continue. At some point it has to turn, because the majority of people are not getting opportunities that they should be and deserve to. So it will definitely change. How that happens and for what world we're moving into, I'm not sure. We know that Africa has an average age of 19, which is the lowest globally. We're going to have a huge, working class that needs to be stimulated.
Isn't that the opportunity for EduTech?
Yeah.
One of the things that was really interesting was you said that the EduTech here, because it's being born in a fire, is world class.
Yeah.
But you've also got a young, uneducated, massive population, and the context which might find itself a little bit more space, trade, and otherwise because of imploding just like global north.
Yeah.
It might be a perfect scenario for EduTech to really have the big change.
So the major thing for me is correcting the basic education level, especially, and I know we played to that point, but Nick mentions it in that documentary. Getting it right from 7 till 12. We just focus there. I think it would reform the whole system, because then people know how to read and write. They know all of those key skills, and that will make the key changes. The necessity-based innovation is ingrained in South Africans because of our context. Right now, we need to leverage that. We do have phenomenal solutions that come out of this place, and those need to be nurtured and stimulated and grown fast. And so, for example, an example of this, and I think I shared it with some of the team members, not all of them, is when we first started out 3 years ago, 4 years ago, one of the key things was Alt-Eds, and that was a education marketplace that we wanted to create, where educators could bring their content and sell it out to learners that wanted it. Anyway, so that idea is gone. But we met a startup in Finland that was the most well-funded startup they've had in the last 5 years, and it was exactly that. They had 5.5 million euros of government funding, and that was only government. They'd been through 3 seed rounds with private investors, and their solution was what we did the BRD for, Chris. 3 years ago. So I'm saying that's the difference, we do have that necessity, and we put it in place and started, but the unfortunate part, and what worries me, is do we have fuel to say go global? That's the difference, and I don't know.
I'll be looking global.
Yeah. You definitely have the emerging market context, so maybe we should focus.
Rich, also I think on your point there with the EdTech and being extremely invaluable, but it's having access to those facilities. I think that's a major problem currently. You might have more insight into those data stats or whatever, but you can build the best solution, but if no one can get access to it and access to that content, then they can't use it. So unfortunately, I think that's quite a massive dynamic that Africa as a whole has at the moment. Is the cost of data is extremely high.
But coming down.
Slowly.
Fast.
And you also get good user sentiment, right?
So then that'll change.
Yeah.
But for the last 10 years, you might have had the greatest solution ever, but a limited amount of people can access it. And those people that can access it, in watching that video, have access to it already, so they're not going to go looking for more. So
I think that's what speaks to the point of working together. And interestingly, one of the things I found the most sad about this trip, but all of these people that James has now met, he met in Europe, and they're all South Africans. And now we talk about all these exciting things we can do together. It's just, why didn't we meet each other before? But I think because we have to be so competitive, because we operating under such hectic conditions in a for-profit company that you don't often reach out and talk to other education companies. So I think that's definitely something that I took away from what James has shared. Is just you can only solve one small part of the problem. So you build the solution, someone else builds the drone-based Wi-Fi in rural area solution, someone else builds the the computer literacy basics training solution, and then together you chip away at it. But the problem is so big that I think you do get overwhelmed if you try to think about the issue as a whole. I think we should just wrap it up now, and then obviously, as I said, please feel free to stick back. We still have plenty more wine, and I think we maybe have some pizza somewhere. But thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It's really great to have you here. And
Yeah, thanks.
Imagine the strike.